Good morning, everyone, and hello to all those watching the recorded version of this. Thank you for joining this morning. Want to welcome everyone, and yet again, we've got a few new changes. We'll cover some of the existing information and go through some of the changes and hopefully get you some good updates. But don't hesitate to take yourself off of mute, ask a question at any time. We've got a small group, so we certainly can do that. Or you can add it to the chat, and Isabella will be watching that for me. So we're happy to have you and welcome your questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to go through some headlines. The Trump White House is never boring. Always opportunities to learn a little bit more about what's going on there and try to understand the effects. That's the challenge, is knowing what steps are going to make what effects long term. And that's hard to read between the lines at this stage, but we'll do our best. Utility rebates, certainly still out there. Don't want to forget about them. Inflation Reduction Act update, A2L updates, and then, of course, tariffs are such a big part of what we're dealing with right now. We're going to dive into those pretty early. So I got those in the wrong spot on the agenda, but because they're really part of the headlines today. I wanted to point out these two acts. They kind of went unnoticed by the news media, and both of these happened on April 9th, and directing the repeal of unlawful regulations and zero-based regulatory budgeting to unleash American energy. Both of these are basically repealing regulations that have been in place for the last few years, and some for several years back into the 70s, and to sunset some of the regulatory information. The challenge is understanding what it will mean. This could repeal some energy efficiency standards. It could make some changes to how we're managing energy in this country, and it's going to affect our industry. We just don't know exactly how yet. So we're watching it very closely. I've been talking to Johnson Controls legislative folks, trying to understand what legally can change and what will change. Most of this is a 30 to 60-day window before anything changes. A lot of it takes place in September, where you're going to see a lot of these things sunset and open the door to make changes. So we're going to keep watching it, keep getting feedback from the folks we know on Capitol Hill with Hardy and with Johnson Controls specifically, and anywhere else we can get information. And we will continue to share that in this meeting. It's confusing and it's unclear, but it very much could be a repeal back to efficiency several years ago. So I don't think the industry has the ability to make that shift at this point, but it could be very interesting to watch how different manufacturers respond to it and how they interpret it. And a lot of this will be decided by the courts. So it's just a uncertainty, which is the word of the day. So next, I want to talk about tariffs, and tariffs are so confusing. I actually went to ChatGPT and said, ChatGPT, tell me what tariffs mean to homeowners right now in residential HVAC. And essentially, and this is pretty close to what I can tell, for the products we sell, there's a 10% baseline tariff, and then country-specific tariffs. You can see the rates. There's obviously more out there, but right now that's what is in place. Additionally, there's 20% duty on Chinese imports, and then steel and tariffs see additional. So a lot of tariffs out there. And the next question is, what do you do about it? And as a industry where we think it's going to go, and this is Chat GPT and what I'm seeing, HVAC systems should see a price increase somewhere between 15 and 30%. Some of that due to A2L, some of it due to inflation, some of it due to tariff. All of those factor in. Some of the more specific components like compressors, motors, circuit boards, and aluminum and copper tubing have significant increases as well. So asking what should homeowners do? Chat GPT says, hey, act promptly. Consider upgrading or replacing your HVAC system before further prices increase. Judging from the last quarter, I don't think a lot of homeowners are taking that advice right now. So it might be something that is at least worth reminding homeowners when we're in the home. Explore alternatives, locally sourced or modular, and digging into that. The modular piece, just changing the outdoor unit or just changing the compressor or just changing the coil as opposed to changing whole systems might mitigate some of that expense. And right now, with the hold on Mexico, Mexican product is certainly a tariff. The tariff impact is significantly less, but many of the components going into the products built in Mexico certainly are still there. So doesn't completely solve the problem. And then talk to the contractors. Contractors know. So homeowners should be reaching out and talking more. So all interesting, but we're going to see price increases because of tariffs. We'll continue to communicate that and give you the best information we can. But it's certainly uncertain. And from an uncertain standpoint, this is the economic experts looking at economic growth. So what is going to happen with the GWP uh, in the US for the next several periods? And you can see that in April, we've taken a significant dive in terms of what economic experts think is going to happen to the GWP growth rate. So a lot of uncertainty. Certainly, there are those who are predicting recession. The vast majority of economic experts are not. They're projecting low growth, which is good, but it's concerning. So obviously, when you see a significant change like we're seeing there in April of 2025, that changes the outlook and certainly creates concern. So we don't know. We certainly are concerned and want to keep an eye on it, and we will continue to gather information and share it in this meeting as best we can. IRA funding is paused, and last time I told you that the IRA probably would slow down and we'd hear a lot less about it. That is bared out so far. We haven't seen any changes. As you can see, this is the map that we looked at last time in terms of where rebates are available, where funds were awarded, but funds are awarded and funds being distributed are two different things. We don't currently think that funds will be distributed in the yellow states. So although the funds were awarded, we don't really think that those dollars are going to be available. So no states on this map have gone from yellow to green in the last 30 days. And I'll be surprised if they do at this stage, but we'll keep watching and keep reporting back as we can. So from an IRA perspective, probably not a lot of action needed at this stage. 25 tax C credit is still there, still an important part of where we're going, and certainly need to remind everybody that executive orders affect spending. They don't affect tax collection. So 25C should be in place until the Congress takes action to take it away. And we don't expect that to get any attention with all the other major things going on in Washington right now. So probably wise to hold tight and keep offering 25C eligible products. And as a reminder, up to $2,600 per system, $2,000 on a heat pump, $600 on a furnace, and $600 on an AC for eligible products. And that is $2,600 off your tax liability, not off what you owe after your withholding. So it does reduce your tax liability, and most of our customers can take advantage of that. Steps to take advantage, make sure you offer 25C systems. If you don't know what those are, talk to your TM. And that's both on furnace, air conditioner, and AC. Would highly recommend that you put that information of AFUE, SEER, and HSPF ratings on your invoices. That's going to make it much easier for your consumers to claim. And if you do have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to your TMs. We're happy to help any way we can. A2L refrigerants continues to become more and more of a factor as we move forward. I leave this in here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but sometimes it's nice to be able to go back and find the names for everything and what some acronym may mean. And I've highlighted the ones on the bottom there because they tie back to the flammability, and it's good to have that in your on your list. If consumers have problems, you can explain in a little more detail or have concerns. Global warming potential, again, the reason we're really going through this refrigerant change is global warming potential. So I have that one highlighted as well. So more information there, and certainly we'll add any additional if need be, but that's where we are right now. Again, global warming versus ozone depletion. Our first refrigerant change, if consumers want to know, was based on ozone depletion. That's when we went from 22 to 410A, and 410A had a lot more global warming potential. So now we're trying to correct that and improve the global warming potential problems in the atmosphere. With that change, we're getting into flammability. And again, we're an A1 refrigerant. With 22, now we're an A2L, so low flammability, but not toxic. So we don't have the high toxicity that you might have with some other refrigerants. So relatively small risk with this refrigerant, but it is flammable, and we don't ever want to misrepresent that. But it's something we need to be aware of and communicate and protect ourselves in terms of how we're preparing. What we mean by low flammability is rated in several different ways. The flammability limit. So in other words, how much concentration of the gas you need in a cubic meter to actually ignite. With propane, you only need 38 grams. With our new 454B, you need 297. So almost 10 times as much refrigerant to spark versus propane. So you can see it doesn't easily spark. You have to have a lot of it. Minimum ignition energy is the joules or the energies you need to light that refrigerant. And propane, you need 0.25 joules, which is a very small spark. Just any spark at all is going to light it. Whereas with 454B, you need something the equivalent of a 300 megajoules is about what you need in a or what you get out of a spark plug in a Mustang. So it's a lot of energy, a whole lot of energy. So it's not any spark that's going to light it. You almost need a lit flame that would light it. Burning velocity is how fast it moves. So you can see the propane moves significantly faster centimeters per second than does Opteon, the 454 blend. And then heat of combustion, how hot is it? Or in other words, how much is it going to catch other things on fire if it does burn? So all of these are very favorable, but it's still flammable, and we have to remember that. But it's significantly less risk than other fuels. What it really changes is the big thing is the tools we use and the refrigerant detection system. Very important to make sure we're looking at the refrigerant detection systems, and the refrigerant detection systems are all based on concentration of the refrigerant. We used to worry about suffocation risk. So if we poured all the refrigerant from a single system into one room, could that create a suffocation risk? Now we have to be concerned about fire. So what the refrigerant detection system does for us is it turns on the circulation blower if it senses refrigerant, and then it disperses that refrigerant across the whole house. In other words, when we go back to the indicators, it's that concentration piece, the flammability limit. 38 grams for propane, 297 grams for Opteon or 454B. So if we spread all of that refrigerant from a system out across all of this space, then the risk goes away. It's just there's not enough concentration for it to light anyway. So essentially, when we sense it, we turn on the circulation blower, run it in the house for a period of time, and it mitigates the risk of that refrigerant being in one spot and catching on fire. So that's essentially what we're doing with the systems. Pretty important to protect ourselves. And the other consideration is that we make sure that we test that system when we put it in. So we have records on our install that we have tested the refrigerant detection system and made sure that it is doing what it's supposed to do. That could be important if there is a fire in the home and somebody wants to point at the new refrigerant as the problem for that flame. If you've tested it and can prove that, that really reduces your liability as a contractor. It gets a little more complicated when you're doing a third-party coil. You just need to make sure you're looking at all the information available from the manufacturer. And again, testing that detection system is crucial in those situations. And my point is testing it is one thing, but recording that test is equally important. Because if you test it but have no way to document it, it's going to be very hard to stand up in a court of law and say, yeah, we did our part if you don't have documentation. So figuring out a way to build that into your standard process is pretty important at this time. All right, tool considerations. Most tools are going to be fine, but always check and just do a quick audit of all your tools. Make sure you're spark free or A2L ready are the two phrases you're looking for. Certainly vacuum pumps. 10-foot cords become a requirement, so you're not plugging in the space. Line set cleaner becomes a bit of a factor now because we're moving to different refrigerants, and then manifold gauges and programming all should be metered for the new refrigerant. Another factor to consider is storing of refrigerant. The non-refillable cylinders at an angle is fine, but your recovery cylinders need to be vertical. Just by the way the pressure release valves are set in there, it's going to be impossible to get them to work horizontally. So at an angle for the new refrigerant canisters, but for the recovery, find a way to store those vertically. Kind of recommend a checklist with A2L systems when you're installing them. This comes from ACA, the American Contractors or Air Conditioning Contractors of America. The list is pretty good, but does it have an RDS, LDS system? Will the fan run continuously? Is there ducted, ductless? Does the outdoor system have one or multiple units? That becomes a concern. Does the system have shutoff valves? More commercial application, but good to know. And then can continuous ventilation be added? All good questions to ask. And the other one I would add to that is testing. If you're wanting more detail, which especially on complex jobs, if you have multiple indoor units, it can be helpful. But looking at JCI's RDS calculator, is it necessary? And this becomes even more important in commercial because not every commercial system needs a calculator or needs an RDS system. So this tool will help you determine if it's needed. Equally important, it will give you a report that you can give to your homeowners to make sure they understand the risks, they understand what you're doing and what choices you're making. Gives you a competitive edge if the competition is not giving them that report, creates some concerns. So if you don't currently have that on your phone, the Ducted Solutions app is what you're looking for. And these are the Apple and Android QR codes to get it loaded onto your phone. Highly recommend it for lots of reasons. There's lots of good tools inside the DS app, but this is a very good tool that they put a lot of time and effort into to make sure that we're ready for A2Ls and know how to confirm if a refrigerant detection system is needed. All right, prep for installs. There's a great ACCA training course online. Takes a little over an hour all in. I've taken it. It's a great course to get any techs up to speed and understanding the basics. Make sure you update your tools. Make sure you've done your training on RDS and LDS with your manufacturers that you're installing. Incorporate the checklist. Assign somebody in your company to really understand ASHRAE 15.2. And I reference ASHRAE 15.2 because all the states in which we sell refer to ASHRAE 15.2 residential installations for their guidelines on flammable refrigerants. And it's not perfect, but it's what we have, and it's what your local inspectors are probably going to be referring to. So understanding it and being a step ahead is always a good thing. Learn the DS Solutions app. It's a good tool and it can be helpful. Probably the most important thing for contractors, in my opinion, is talk to your AWJ. What's an AWJ? An authority with jurisdiction. So normally we refer to them as inspectors, but sometimes in different markets they have different names. Understand what they're looking for, understand what their requirements are. And we're finding when we ask that question, quite often they haven't even thought about it. But what's always concerning with an inspector, if they get ASHRAE 15.2, they can interpret differently than we do. And at this stage, you don't want to have to go back and redo jobs just because a contractor interprets things differently. Or excuse me, an inspector interprets things differently. So take some time, talk to your inspector, see how they're going to interpret A2L installs and what they're really looking for to make sure that you meet the local criteria. Great information to have and always important to be a step ahead. Additional resources available, several on here. As always, we will be sending out the PDF of this presentation along with the recording so you can go back and look at it. But on the PDF, you can click through to the white paper from JCI, which is a great tool to help yourself understand, help your team understand. The EPA Data Hub, more information than you could ever want about what's happening with refrigerant in this country and what the processes are. The building code map is a valuable tool that can show you the exact building codes for your state. And then the IRA toolkit can update you on what's happening with the IRA rebates across the country and in your state and your specific information on how to claim any of those if they become available. Another tool is some nice short little videos on low GWP refrigerants. Great to show to homeowners who are considering an option and are a little concerned about A2Ls. This video brings some comfort and explains what's happening there. And that is, albeit a short one today, that is all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm happy to try to answer any questions, as it can be a little difficult to fully answer them because we don't have all the answers today, but we will keep looking. I will keep digging every month and adding these, what I learn. And if you have specific questions, a lot of the TMs on the Republic staff call during the month and ask me questions, and I certainly add the answers to those questions to these conversations, and I will continue to do so. But with not seeing anything in terms of chat, and nobody's turning off their Mr. Tier, got a
Andy,
question?
hey,
How are you?
there's been good morning. Thank you again for doing all this. On top of it, though, I'm not sure. We got to check with Isabella on the calendar invite. I'm sure a lot of the team, for some reason, did we change the date or something?
We did because we
Yeah.
had our meeting in Des Moines, and it just
Okay.
too crazy to try to do it. So we moved it late, and shame on us for doing that. We should have recognized that earlier, but
No problem. Just, I can help get with Isabella. We can do a better job trying to get it out to the rest of the team and our customers is all. So again,
yep,
I appreciate you doing this, Andy. I enjoy it.
no, we Isabel and I talked about maybe not doing it next month because we've been having a few less people, but as we're having more contractors every day using A2Ls, I think it's very important. And we also just don't know what's going to happen next with tariffs and the federal government. We want to keep tabs on it. So we'll keep doing it. We'll try to keep them short with not a lot of lingering issues, but we think it's important to keep the updates coming.
I would agree. Thanks again, Andy.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, Andy.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Hey, yeah, just curious. Sean Smith here. Do you, for on the A2Ls and when it comes down to local codes, cities and municipalities, do you foresee those code enforcement people requiring contractors to provide proof that the systems were installed with all the, that checklist that you went through? Is that something?
My concern, Sean, is not necessarily with the inspectors. They may ask for testing. I would because if I were doing it, I would at least tell you that it's a requirement. My concern is more about the unlikely event that there is a fire, because the last thing I would want is to be on the stand defending my company and the future of my company and not have documentation of having tested the refrigeration detection system.
Okay.
It's just there's no reason to take that risk, and you're just better off having something that said, yeah, we tested, everything worked, because otherwise that burden comes down to you, and I hate to put our contractors in that position.
Yeah.
Make
So
sense?
as TMs, it's kind of pretty important for us to push our contractors to start doing that process, make sure they're doing that process on their side, and just make sure they're covered then.
Sean, you still there?
Sorry, did I lose you?
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you. So no, good.
Nope, you answered my question. I appreciate it.
No problem. It's maybe a bit restrictive. The other thing I'm concerned about with the inspection, Sean, is ventilation. If you read the code, uh, it says an RDS should turn on ventilation, and some inspectors may require that. I think it'll be rare, but I would hate to be in a situation where you've completed a job and now you have to go back and add ventilation, because it's
Mhm.
you're basically talking about the relay and then adding some type of ventilation. And it'd be better to know that and price it accordingly if your inspector is going to require that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have a question? All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining. I greatly appreciate it. And we'll keep fighting the good fight and learning what we can. So everybody have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.